4th Brigade, 98th Division. Give it up.
Good evening, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to be here for Master Sergeant Wright's retirement ceremony for 40 years of service to United States Army Reserve.
Yeah.
It is rare indeed to see an NCO who has been able to make 40 years of service. In the 22 years I've been with the United States Army Reserves, I've only met 2 NCOs that I can recall who have made that point of 40 years of service. And not only has he served 40 years of giving up his time on the weekends, his family has sacrificed, giving him up to go to 2 weeks a year, 4 weeks a year over in Iraq. Just countless service that is above and beyond what most citizens of the United States have to do. And on top of that, he has had an outstanding civilian career and raised a wonderful family. So it is my greatest honor to be here, to be able to congratulate Master Sergeant Wright on this time. At this time, I'm going to read his biography, his military bio. Master Sergeant Wright was born in Lockport, New York in August of 1959 and was raised in Jamestown, New York. He enlisted in the U.S. Army for only 4 years of active duty in August of 1978. He attended basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Upon graduating from there, Master Sergeant Wright reported to Fort Benjamin Harrison, Indiana, for his advanced individual training as a computer programmer analyst. Upon completion of that training in 1979, he reported to his permanent duty assignment at the West Point Military Academy. During this assignment, he advanced to the rank of Specialist 5th Class while working as a computer programmer in support of West Point's academic departments. He was released from his active duty commitment in October of 1982. Beginning in 1983, Master Sergeant Wright transferred into the Army Reserves. He served in numerous Army Reserve units as follows: headquarters of the 4th Battalion of the 92nd Field Artillery Regiment in Erie, PA, the 1031st USAR School at West Hartford, Connecticut, the 409th Personal Services Company in Tonawanda, New York, headquarters of then 4th Brigade 98th Division in Amherst, New York, back to the 409th Personnel Services Company in Tonawanda, the 1151st USAR School in Tonawanda, then headquarters of the 2nd of the 2nd, the 98th Division, headquarters of the 1st of the 98th Regiment, 2nd Brigade of the 98th Division, and then where he served numerous years with the 1390th Regiment in Amherst, New York. In fact, Master Sergeant Wright served the entirety of the War on Terror with the 1390th Regiment. Master Sergeant Wright's personal awards and honors include the Bronze Star, the Army Commendation Medal, the Joint Service Achievement Medal, Army Achievement Medals, the Good Conduct Medal, the Army Reserve Component Achievement Medal, the Armed Forces Reserve Medal, the Iraq Campaign Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, the Non-Commissioned Officer Professional Development Ribbon, and the Army Service Ribbon. He was a 1981 West Point Athlete of the Year and the 1991 Division Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year. Master Sergeant Wright and his wife Lisa have 3 children, Christopher, Catherine, and Joseph, and they reside in North Tonawanda, New York. Let's get another round of applause.
Meritorious Service Medal is awarded to Master Sergeant Joel E. Wright for exceptionally meritorious service in positions of increasing responsibility, culminating a 40-year Army career as a Senior Operations NCO, the 398. Master Sergeant Wright's professionalism, initiative, competence, and leadership were invaluable to the success of the entire battalion throughout the entire War on Terror. Master Sergeant Wright's superb leadership, lasting contributions, and service to the nation is in keeping with the highest traditions of the Army and reflects great credit upon himself, 1st Battalion, 390th Regiment, 3rd Brigade, 95th Training Division, of the United States Army. S.A. Honors. Signed, Brigadier General Andrew Bashford, Division Commander, U.S. Army Reserve.
About face. Let's have a round of applause. For coming, it really means a lot to me. It's been a long time. Before I get started on anything, I'd like to just again thank Sean. Sean is Chris's best friend from high school. Michael Anderson graduated with my daughter. I've known him since he's in grade school. He's a chef here in the area, did the cooking for us. And his soon-to-be wife, Amanda, who did a lot of these crafty things on the table. Kind of just pitching and helping out. I really appreciate it. So, it's been a long time. I got a few notes, so I don't have to refer to them too often. So, I figure after 40 years I should get to say a few words, so I wasn't sure about how the retirement thing works, so I did a little bit of research online just to find out, well, how long should you talk and that sort of thing. So, it seems the clear consensus is 2 minutes per year. For those of you with empty glasses or full bladders, I apologize now. But I'm not going to talk that long. The one thing I wanted to make sure that I did was acknowledge all the support that I've received. I usually get emotional. Hopefully I can make it through this. So to go through an Army career, or really any kind of career, really does require a lot of support, and I've had a lot of that in a lot of different ways from a lot of different groups of people, all of which are represented here tonight. First, I'd just like to, no, we don't do that. First, I'd like to start out by recognizing my family, my immediate family, my wife Lisa, who put a lot of time into this along with me, 33 years and counting now. A lot of the time that she had to spend as a single parent. And my great kids, my beautiful daughter, and my son. Chris, appreciate you guys, love you guys, and thanks for all your support over the years as well. My mom and dad are up from Florida. They've been a wealth of support, praying all the time, really concerned, especially I know when I was in Iraq, my dad was concerned. And I really appreciate all that you've done, everything, no matter it's the Army or anything else, they've always been there to support not only me with the Army, but all of us kids. I really, really appreciate that. Got two of my three sisters here tonight, and two of my brothers, and couldn't ask for better siblings as well. They are staunch defenders of, again, not only me, not only this situation, but of each other. If anything should happen to come up, anything serious, we're there for each other, and we got each other's back. So I appreciate you guys for that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Also, I have my beautiful mother-in-law, Andrea, who being here, a good friend of the family, Jerry, who we've kind of adopted and is a part of the family. Got a number of nieces and nephews and a cousin. Two of Lisa's aunts are here. Appreciate you guys being here and all the support that you've provided. So some of the examples I just wanted to kind of point out about the type of support from my family.
is on Veterans Day or other types of things like that. It's cards or emails or calls or something now that I'm finally on Facebook. And they always remember it. Some of Todd's kids, I know Carter's here, his youngest son, getting phone calls from him on Veterans Day saying, "Hey, thanks Uncle Joel for serving. I appreciate that card." And it's really not just from my side of the family, it's the same with Lisa's side of the family. Everybody's been extremely supportive. Two of my best friends here, well, my two best friends from high school, Ray and Willie. Thank you guys for being here, and yes, we go way back, and appreciate all your support along the way as well. One of the other things that when I was in Iraq, I know he's not here tonight, but my nephew Mason, my sister Candy, his son, and Chris, he got his class a whole class to send me letters when I was in Iraq. And so that was, I don't know, how old is Mason now?
23.
Yeah, 23, so he was pretty young at the time, probably like 9. And so I still have those. Those are over here in my response back to those guys. So that meant a lot as well. A lot of people, not only family, but other groups and people sent letters and care packages and things like that. One other story about, just real quick, on my brother Eric. He doesn't know I'm going to say this, but one time when I did come back, I think, and he was telling me a story about, he was talking to some guy that was either on active duty or had been on active duty, and Eric was saying, "Hey, my brother's over there, he's in the reserves, he's doing this," and the guy started kind of putting down the reserves, say, "Well, they're not really contributing as much, he's not, what he's doing isn't as important," and Eric shut him right down. So, again, for my family, we talk about sacrifice. Our families do make sacrifices. There's a lot of, how many, birthdays and anniversaries and sporting events, that I missed. I missed my daughter's whole senior year of high school. Lisa was a single parent during that year. Joe was only 9. And that was, I think, a lot tougher on them, than it is on the soldiers. So, don't forget about the families. Also want to thank Lisa for planning this event. I wasn't really even thinking about a party or anything, so Lisa and the kids said, "No, you're having a party." So on her side, she spent a lot of time, even in her current condition, trying to pull things together. She did a great job, along with Mandy, who helped out a lot as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
The next group that I really did provide a lot of support was my employer. So I work at Praxair. I've been working there for 20 years. Some of the people that are here at this whole table back there, some people over here that I've known, that entire 20 years, and I consider friends, not just co-workers. We don't get out and hang out, but when we go in, we know a lot about each other, see each other every day. So I do consider you guys as friends and appreciate your friendship. Has been extremely flexible with me in terms of my duty, so a lot of times I'll end up having to do a day here, a day there. Never a question, never a concern, always paid me, which is the most important thing. The members of my team, some of which are here, always had my back when I was out, never had to worry about, "Oh, well, I'm not there, something's not going to get done." So, Vic, Natu, Shailesh, Raja, thank you very much. Again, the same with holidays, even from the people at work. I get comments in the hallway or an email from somebody say, "Hey, happy Veterans Day." When I went to Iraq, some of them that are here, they had a thing for us, brought my family in one of the last days I worked, had a cake. Some of them were wearing, military fatigues that they had had when they were in previously, just to kind of show support. So I really, going back a long time, I still remember that, and I know that meant a lot to us. A group within there too that they also, coordinated sending multiple care packages, which I appreciated them. The other great thing was that Praxair continued to pay me my salary the whole year. For the family to get help and so forth. So thank you all for that. And also the military itself. So we think, well, you're in the military, how do you get support from the military? Well, there are just a couple of examples I want to give. Colonel Baginski is here tonight. You know, I was going to say this, you know, I don't know if you even remember, but when we were getting deployed, she was our battalion commander. And prior to that, she was my boss in the S3. And prior to that, we go way back to down to Gary, I think, when you were a captain when you first came in. So we go back quite a ways. So we were scheduled to ship out to Fort Bliss on our way to Iraq on September 11th, which just happened to be the wedding, my sister-in-law's wedding. So our plan was, all right, well, let's go out Friday for the rehearsal dinner. We'll drive back in the morning. It was out at Canisius Lake. You guys can drop me off at the airport, and then you can go back to the wedding. Well, at some point throughout there, I had called Colonel Baginski, and I said, well, I mean, it's the war and all, so probably not going to be able to do anything, but let me give it a shot. So I called her up, and then while we were at the rehearsal dinner, I got a phone call from Colonel Baginski. He said, hey, stay there. We've changed your orders. We've changed your flight. You can stay there, enjoy the wedding with your family, and leave the next day. So I get choked up when I was writing it. I mean, that meant a lot to my family. So the other thing, they have a family readiness group. Her husband Ken is here. He was a part of that. Al and Gloria. Al, we worked with way back. He was our unit administrator full-time as a civilian, was also a sergeant in first class. And I think they were all involved in that. So when I was gone, they would call and check up on Lisa every once in a while. Hey, how's it going? Do you need anything? So just another type of support of soldiers, looking out for soldiers. So I appreciate that as well, you guys. So joining the Army really, I think, was one of the best decisions I ever made. Obviously, I stuck around for a while, so it couldn't have been too bad. I hadn't really even thought about joining the Army. After high school, I went to college for a year. Ray and I went down and played basketball at junior college in North Carolina for a coach we had in high school. And then the following year, he took the head position at Alfred University. So we had to decide, well, do I want to now try to go to Alfred University? So I had thought about it, started filling out the paperwork, and then one day out of the blue, a recruiter called me. And next thing I know, I was getting sworn in. So I know Ray went on to play at Alfred, good career there. But when I went in, because I wasn't really ever a big fan of school, so this seemed like, well, if I can't do school stuff or don't want to do school stuff, so let me, maybe this might have something here. So I remember going up to the MEP station in Buffalo, and I wanted to become an electrician. So I went through the Army physical, and they said, well, no, you can't be an electrician because you're colorblind. So I said, all right, well, then I want to be a computer programmer. And they said, well, I'm sorry, all the computer programmer slots are filled, you can't do that. So, but we have this other one where you sit out in a silo and look at a computer monitor. I said, no. So I said, well, if I can't get what I want, I'll just go back to school. So then magically this slot came up. I did a programming course, and it's, obviously made a career out of it. So that's how I got my start at programming my first 4 years on active duty. Kind of just a little trivia. Coincidentally, my dad was in the Korean War. I think he went initially as a truck driver, and then they had 200 some guys take an IBM test, and this is probably 1953. And he scored really, really well on the test, so he was two out of the 200 plus people that they said, all right, Wright, you're reporting over here, you're now our computer guy. So the same thing, he started out his career in the Army way back in the beginning. I thought I was at the beginning of computers. And he ended up was an IT director for many years and since retired, of course. So we kind of interesting there that we ended up following the same path. Just one other kind of historical thing. My grandfather, my mother's father, was in World War II, and he was stationed at he was an MP at the Stewart Army Subpost, which is kind of a component of West Point where I was stationed. Yep. So if you look at the pictures, there's a legacy thing over there. He's in the top left. if you look at the patch on his left shoulder, it's the same as the patch that I have on the first uniform I had at West Point. So it's kind of another kind of a cool thing. Maybe I won't go 80 minutes long. So I guess in terms of highlights, I just want to kind of highlight, because I have a captive audience, I can talk about it. I really consider my entire time on active duty as a highlight. I mean, the experience I had was unique compared to most people's. Working at West Point, I wasn't a student there, I was working as a computer programmer, but that was your job. You were there to support the academy, work 8 to 4, or whatever it was. We had no organized PT, we had one formation a week, never saw a weapon. You were there, you worked your job 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and that was it. So that was kind of unique. Most people don't have that Army experience. And they'd be up every morning doing PT at old dark 30, and we had the formations multiple times a day. And also, I think on active duty, which is, reserves is great, but you don't have the time to develop the types of relationships that you do on active duty. So for the 3.5 years I was at West Point, lived and worked and played with, the same people, and got to know people very well. And some people were invited to that. Unfortunately, some medical things came up for a number of them, and they weren't. But I still keep in contact with people that I worked with 40 years ago at West Point. Cool thing that happened while I was at West Point, close to New York City, so we would go down to concerts at Madison Square Garden. That was nice. Was also there when the Iran hostages came back. And when they brought them back, they brought them directly to West Point. They stayed at the Thayer Hotel, and they had their cadets line up on the parade field, all 4,000 or whatever there were, and they drove the buses of the hostages down through. That was quite a sight. And of course, there was news all over the place and everything. That was pretty cool. Also, there was a Bob Hope show at the football stadium while I was there. Brooke Shields, I remember somehow. First president, as vice president, was a speaker for the cadets. I got paid to usher at the Army football games, so I got to watch the football games for getting paid. In general, I think it was just nice to have, because there's people from all over, all different backgrounds, even not just in the United States, but all over the world that I had a chance to live with and work with and get to know. So I think you really learn a lot from that. So that's the next kind of highlight was my deployment to Iraq. And I kind of use a sports analogy. Sometimes I talk to people about being in the reserve. So I figure you're on the team, but you're practicing all the time. And now you kind of get a chance to play in the game. So you want to play in the game, because that's, whether you're in for 5 years, 10 years, or 4 years, that's our job. That's what we do. So it's nice to practice, but when you get a chance, you don't necessarily want to go to war, but you kind of do, because that's what you do. So. Some of the highlights there, I worked in the military intelligence section in the headquarters that was building up and equipping all of the Iraqi security forces. So we got to work directly with the Ministry of Defense, highest level intel people. The MOD, the Ministry of Defense building, was like right over the wall from us, so we'd go over there and work directly with those people. Also, I worked under Lieutenant General Petraeus. I'm sure everybody's heard of General Petraeus. And in my role in the intelligence section as the NCOIC, I had the good fortune of being able to brief him 2 mornings a week as a part of his staff meetings. So just to be in there, my part was like 5 minutes, but he had his whole staff at this big table. I kind of sat back and did my thing when I was called upon, but just to see him, how he dealt with his staff, and super sharp guy, that was kind of a nice thing that obviously not a lot of people got to do. That was really a highlight. The one thing about him, they always remember somebody was going to get promoted or somebody was going to get an award, and they would say, okay, we're going to have General Petraeus present it. And so they would write something on a card and give it to him about the person, and he'd go on and on, just off the cuff, about like he knew the guy his whole life. He was like really, he just made everybody feel good, and he was really sharp. So it was nice to kind of see him in action. There was the chicken man in the green zone where I was stationed, an Iraqi guy in the corner on a field, had a little rotisserie chicken thing set up with a tarp over it. You could go there and get a half a chicken, some vegetables, and some flatbreads for $5. So he used to go there at least once a week. Yeah, I'll stop with that. There's a bunch of can tell you other stuff later. So the last thing I want to highlight is the reserves too. And like I said, it's not quite the same as active duty, but being in as long as I have the one thing that I will take away from the reserves is that I've got to observe, you know, a dozen or more commanders, a dozen or more bosses. The ones that are certainly represented here tonight that I had, that are all fine officers, Lieutenant Colonel Snowbird. And Luke Sure I work with Mike Wallace, Sergeant First Class. He's a full-timer over here now. Captain Massey, you met earlier, the company commander in our battalion. Major Brewers, my current boss in the S3. And also, you know, I mentioned Colonel Leginsky. So they're here. I mean, these are the finest officers that you'll find. And the one thing I liked about, you know, working or seeing or being involved with 12 different, you kind of see the differences and how they think about things, and then kind of the isms that they have and how they speak, how they solve problems. So it's just really a great opportunity to witness that many and kind of, you know, see the good and the bad. They weren't all awesome, but most definitely. The ones that are here are definitely awesome. Let's see here. Last page. First page. So I was thinking about, well, what am I going to miss? You know, I've been in for 40 years since I was 19 or 18, almost 19. One of the things I'm going to miss is wearing the uniform and the recognition of being part of less than 0.5% of the population that serves in the armed forces. You know, it means a lot to me. It's kind of hokey sometimes, and I don't know if that's why I stayed or not, but, you know, I'm going to miss that. Even just like walking down the street, I don't know how many people, you know, little kids with their parents would come up and say, hey, thank you for serving and that kind of thing. I'm not the type of person that needs a lot of that, but it's nice to hear it. Appreciate it all that time. Now, I'll just be an older guy wearing a retired Army hat. Maybe they'll still say something else. Other types of recognition, I mentioned kind of walking down the street, and a couple other things that were cool that happened when a group of us, when we were coming back the last time from Iraq, and we were in Atlanta in a restaurant having lunch, and it was about 6 of us, and we got down and paid our meal, and some of this gentleman over here just paid for you guys. And so, you know, we thanked them. That was very nice. And then Mike Wallace and Major Brewer and I, probably a few months ago, within the last year, we were at a restaurant in Amherst, just went in for lunch, and again, we went to leave, and the waitress came up and said, you guys don't owe anything. Somebody paid for your lunch. We said, well, tell us who it is so we can thank you. They said, no, they don't want thanks. They just wanted to pay for your lunch. So,
That's awesome.
you know, stuff like that does happen, and I know these guys, that means a lot. We appreciate it. I'll miss some of the cool training that we do in the Army. And that's kind of the other thing I like, is we get to do things that a lot of people don't get to do. Even just fire the M16. We go up to Fort Drum and do convoy training where there's like real guys dressed up like Iraqis in towns with explosives and all that. And you drive down through looking for IEDs and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. They have like a rollover simulator. So what happens if your Humvee rolls over? So they actually have a Humvee on a rotisserie. And then they teach you how to do it, and then they turn you around a few times, and then you're upside down, and based on where you are in the vehicle, driver, gunner, passenger, you end up, you know, they teach you how to get up. So it's kind of neat stuff like that I'll miss. What I won't miss is last-minute suspenses from higher headquarters, so probably the military people understand that better. So it's kind of thinking like a cartoon thing. So the first frame is, hey guys, we just received a suspense about some new mandatory training that the battalion has to complete. We need 100% completion to brigade. The next frame, Soldier 2. Okay, what's the suspense? Third frame, back to Soldier 1, last week. So that's about how it goes. It's going to be very disruptive. I won't miss that. The other thing that we're getting into a lot of, and I guess most companies do now, is metrics. So the big kind of thing was turning reds to greens. So we have all of these things that we have to report up, training and all this kind of thing. So we've got what the good part wasn't was that when we ended up spending our weekend turning reds to greens, just kind of catching up on stuff just to kind of check a box so that our headquarters is happy. So that needs to be done. It's valuable stuff, but I won't miss it. And then on the plus side, I will no longer miss one Bills game per month because and then just to kind of in closing, my takeaway from the 40 years, I feel like I've gotten much more from the Army than the Army got from me. And what I mean by that is, at the end of the day, I gave my time and I did what was expected of me. What I got out of it was all these memorable experiences that I was talking about. I got a lot of good friendships, and I got a civilian career. So I feel, like that was a lot. And with that, I would again like to thank you all for being here and thank you all for your support. Enjoy the rest of your night.